Hey, Dan.
Okay. Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, good. I've got as I'm sitting here, my list gets longer and longer. to talk-
You sound like me.
Yeah, hearing people's issues brings up things. So, to start off, I've had a lot of trauma in my life,
Mhm.
very sensitive. So I am joining you next weekend for
Oh,
both.
good.
So I want to tell you that. So I wanted to give you an update on the knees. You
Oh,
recommend
yes.
the joint relief, and then adding basil on top and bottom of the kneecap.
Right.
And it feels like it's making it weaker. In fact, I wasn't sure, but I used a power plate today, and it actually really hurt. My right knee really hurt, which it's never done before.
Hmm.
The joint relief is definitely helping my back shoulder, which I've had an injury like probably 40 years. But in terms of my knees, it feels like it's making it weaker, even with the basil.
So when you're standing up and okay, let me ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
So, like when you're standing there, you're just kind of relaxing. Does it ever feel good for you? Like instead of just standing kind of straight with the legs pretty straightened, is it easier for you? Like if you flex the legs a little bit to stand there, or are you able to keep your legs relatively straight?
I've never really had an issue before.
Okay.
I could do either.
Okay. When you bend over to touch your toes, like, are you able to go kind of far, or do you start to bend your legs when that starts to happen?
My back is very stiff.
Back is stiff.
That's part of my family too.
Okay, so I mean, what you're kind of describing, like I'm wondering if you have a little bit of a muscle imbalance. Like what can happen with the knee is the hamstrings can become much stronger than the quadriceps. And so as you're treating the area, you're loosening up the quadricep a little bit, and the pain is increasing, which means like if you are loosening up the hamstring or excuse me, the quadricep, the front part of your leg, and then it's increasing, not decreasing, then it probably means as you are unwinding that, it's the thing that opposes that muscle group is going into a deeper level of flexion. Like, it's tightening up more because
Yeah.
the front leg and the back leg have to balance each other. And so if one loses tone, the other one goes into like a spasm. And so it can happen with any kind of issue, but because it's a weight bearing joint, it can happen easier. And so instead of putting the basil on the front side, let's have you put it, like the crease of your knee, go up a little bit, like a few inches, and then from a couple inches up, rub it on that lower part of the back of your leg and
Okay.
see if that doesn't take some of the tension out. And if that doesn't work, or even if it does work, we might switch you over to spikenard. And the reason, like spikenard and valerian and myrrh are all good for muscle imbalances. Like when you see this a lot when something's been inflamed for a while, like when an area becomes really super inflamed, the muscles that extend the joint, that make the joint open up, become inflamed, and then the things that bring it together, the flexors, they'll go into a deeper spasm. And it sounds like that's what's happening with your knee.
So I'm using spikenard on my feet, which I want to touch.
Let's just have you jump and just rub it on your knee, rub it behind your knee, rub it up the back of your leg. You can even put a little bit on the front of the leg. You don't have to be as, like with the basil, you'd have to be real specific about, let's get it on the back of the leg. The spikenard, you can just hit the whole area and see,
Okay.
see what happens. Let's
Okay.
have you do that for a little bit and see what happens.
Should I continue or discontinue the joint relief?
I would continue the joint relief, but do them at different times in the day.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening with that. And then